Hello, everybody out there in gardening land, and welcome to a special edition of the Row by Row Show. I know this is not how it normally looks. We're not on our normal set tonight. We've got a special guest with us. Greg's on vacation this week, and so he wasn't able to make the show. And got my good buddy Jason at COG Hill Farms to join us tonight. Doing this via Zoom meeting, so if the clarity is a little off or the audio is a little off, we do apologize in advance. This is done on Zoom, not on necessarily our big camera that we normally show on. But we're glad to have you with us tonight, and we got some really cool stuff to talk about. I'll let Jason talk to the crowd for a minute there before we get started.
Yeah, if you guys don't know who I am, YouTuber, farmer, gardener. We like to have a lot of fun from Central Alabama, and just happy Travis asked me to be a part of this. For real, this is just pretty awesome.
Yeah, so Jason and I have become good buddies over the last few years. I've actually been up to see his place, and we work together with our YouTube channels, but we also are just good friends and like to talk gardening and homesteading and just about everything else. If you've not seen Jason's channel, we'll put a link below to that. You can go check out the COG Hill Farm channel, give them a good subscribe there. If you like animals on the homestead, he's the channel to watch. He has got every animal you could imagine. And
we got a lot of animals. A lot of animals.
So we were originally going to talk, before Greg hauled off, we were going to talk about cool season cover crops this week, and we'll put that on hold till next week. And we're going to be talking about some gardening techniques later. But before we do that, we always have our show and tell segment. And it is customary with the Row by Row show, Jason, that we always eat a little snack on the show. So what I've got right here are some Seminole pumpkin muffins, or cupcakes.
Wow.
You might want to call them cupcakes. They're really good. So one of the girls in our seed room, her mom grew some of our Seminole pumpkins this year, and has got tons of them. She brought some of these. She actually even brought a little thing of icing. I didn't bring that home, but these things right here are absolutely delicious. I'm going to partake if you don't mind.
We've done pumpkin pies out of those Seminole pumpkins, and they are fantastic. Fantastic. Matter of fact, that's what we do mostly with our Seminole pumpkins in the past. We're strictly pumpkin pies.
They store so well.
Oh, God, they'll last forever.
I'm almost wondering if I could take some of those South Anna butternut squash I have, since they're, half bred with the Seminole pumpkin, and make some muffins out of them. I think the taste should be pretty similar on the butternut to the Seminole.
I bet you could. I bet you could.
So I don't know about up there where y'all are. So we're close to being in the same planting zone. Jason is a little bit north of us as far as the latitude goes. Down here, just got my stuff started in the greenhouse, my fall transplants. Got those going. Just working on kind of getting some of these garden plots cleaned up and ready for some fall planting, some onions, elephant garlic. Speaking of elephant garlic, we got that in, folks. It's going fast. Like, I'm talking really, really fast. So if you want elephant garlic or shallots, you need to get it now, because it looks like we are going to run out. We can get another shipment, but it's not guaranteed, and the quantity that we can get on another shipment is not guaranteed. So if you want those, you need to get those. They've been going really fast. I think Jason's got some. He's going to be planting pretty soon.
Yeah, I got them this week.
So
got them this week. I've also started my transplants. Broccoli, all my leaf vegetables, collard greens, which I'm excited about. The new collard greens that you got in this year.
The top.
Got those going. Matter of fact, I started mine last week, and they're already. I tell you what, I just looked at them tonight, and I got roots coming out the bottom of the seed trays already in probably a week and a half.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Crazy.
We did a show several weeks ago on we did a show on seed starting techniques, and it's one of those things a lot of people struggle with, but once you get the hang of it, man, it is it's so rewarding. And you've got a lot of great videos out there on how to do it inside when you don't have a greenhouse.
Do it. Yep.
So, if you want to see how Jason grows transplants in our big trays inside and does really well with them, you can see those videos of his channels. But it can be done, and seed starting
Can be done.
You being the testament to that. Once you get the hang of it, man, it's like riding a bicycle.
It really is. It really, really is. It's the only thing I've struggled with is peppers, but other than that, it's been pretty easy.
Yeah. So we got our transplants going. Onions, got onions going. I think you're growing some of the cougar onions.
I'm growing some of the cougar onions.
I
don't know if you saw my Instagram post today. Yeah, growing some of the cougar onions. Super excited about the onions. This will be my first time growing onions by seed. I've always done it. Probably like a lot of people go to the feed store and they got the little plants or slips or whatever you want to call them,
right,
and wrapped around a rubber band, and you grab them and you throw them in the ground. And I haven't been successful at all growing them that way.
Yeah. We did a little testing last year, and we've always grown from plants too, but we started doing our own seed, and the results were pretty remarkable comparing the two there. Onions are pretty hardy, but that time out of the ground is pretty valuable. And if you can keep that from happening and go straight from the trays to the ground,
I can imagine
like a healthier plant of the bigger onion. So I'm not really harvesting a whole lot in my garden. I got a few peppers left. I have been digging these bad boys. So these are our Georgia Jet sweet potatoes. And I picked out a few of the best ones. These what around here we call number ones. And I got about 5 rows of them. And we've been trying to, me and the wife and kids, get out there and knock out about 1 row a day. It's you don't want to take on all of it at one time, but get out there and knock out 1 row a day. I still got those purple sweet potatoes. I haven't mowed those down and got ready to dig those. Those ones Wes sent me. I'm really excited. Everybody says they taste so good. I've never grown them before, but I'll be looking forward to digging those in the next few weeks.
He's bragged about them, I can tell you that.
Yeah. So sweet potato, we're talking about the Seminole pumpkins, the butternut, the sweet potatoes. All those are great crops that store for a long time. And the Homesteaders of America conference is coming up virtually this year. I think it is October 9th and 10th is when they're going to have the videos for viewing. I'm not sure how that works. If once you register, you can watch the videos as many times as you want. You know anything about that?
Yeah. I don't know how that's going to work. It's just all new to me.
Right. So I assume you would have access for a little while to the videos. But anyway, they're scheduled, all throughout the day, those 2 days. And me and Greg have a talk. We're doing on what we consider the most valuable crops a homesteader can grow. Sweet potatoes are included in that. And a lot of the crops that we think store really easily without a lot of effort. And then Jason's doing a talk as well as a part of the HOA.
Yep.
Give a little hint on
I'm doing that you can homestead, and that you don't have to follow the gardening fads or the homesteading fads out there, and that each homestead's different.
Yeah. So little pep talk there for everybody that's getting into it or maybe struggling a little bit. So you can go to, I think the website is homesteadersofamerica.com. If you haven't already, went and registered for that conference and all that good information. A lot of good speakers there. And I will say, our talk, we're not going to publish on our YouTube page later. So the only way to see our talk is to go register for that conference virtually, and you can see it there.
Yep, same with me as well.
Okay. Moving on. I've had
it looks like they keep adding. It looks like they're.
Go ahead.
It looks like she's constantly adding more speakers. To me, is what it looks like. Looking at social media, it looks like she's adding. They're adding some really, really great speakers here at the last few weeks. That's what it looks like to me too.
Yeah, it kind of stinks that it didn't happen in person, but I guess one one bright side of that is they have been able to add a lot more speakers since they are doing it virtually.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. I've had a lot of customers and people, viewers emailing me recently asking who won the Sunflower Showdown. So we were a part of this competition called the Sunflower Showdown with us and Jason and Deep South and the Naked Hog and Adler Farms and 4 Kids in a Farm. And there was some other channels jumped in there. And people keep asking me who won.
Yep.
And what I've been telling them, and you can probably attest this as well, is our customers won. The pictures our customers are posting on Instagram and Facebook, Ooh. They grew way bigger sunflowers than any of us YouTubers did.
Way bigger.
Yeah.
Way bigger. I mean, there was one that was 17 foot tall. Is that right?
There was one that was 17 foot tall. Yeah, it was over the roof line.
I think it had a 4-inch base at the bottom. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I'm not a professional giant sunflower grower by any means. I tried my best at it, and I'll try again. But yeah, our customers definitely won with that. So, and that's always good to see. We like that. We had really a lot of fun with that, and it was always fun seeing everybody's pictures and those big sunflowers out there.
And made some good friends too. That was the other thing.
Yeah, that's right. Made some good friends with some other YouTube channels. Mm-hmm. Always good to kind of increase that community. Me and you were talking earlier today. So we're adding, I've got one I just added to the website. This one here, everybody can see that, called Atlantic Giant Pumpkin.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got another 1 or 2 that I'll be adding to the site before next spring when it's time to plant pumpkins. I mean, you were talking about we may get together some channels and do a giant pumpkin growing contest in the spring. Now, you know, most people say, well, why don't you do it in the fall? That's when people want pumpkins. Well, some of us are climatically, is that a word? Climatically challenged, maybe?
Sounds good to me.
and have a hard time growing pumpkins in the fall. So if we do it in the spring, that would give everybody a fair shot, I think. But I think that would be a fun little challenge to do, is to have a giant pumpkin growing contest.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah. You'd have to have a pretty good scale to, I guess, to verify it, but I guess we can make that happen.
Yeah, that would be the thing. I didn't think about that. I mean, you talked about it earlier, but weighing them suckers, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean,
I might have to get a skid steer.
Scale at the warehouse. We weigh packages on, but I'm not sure. Some of these get 200-300 pounds. I don't know.
I know it.
I don't know, first of all, how we get it up there to weigh it. But I guess
you'd have to have a skid steer.
I guess if you grow a big pumpkin, then you got to figure that out. We'll have to make up some rules there. But we'll probably do the Sunflower Showdown again next year, probably late midsummer in the fall. Do that again. I'm adding some new varieties of giant sunflowers, mammoth. There's one called Kong. There's a bunch of them out there. I think it'd be fun to everybody just kind of pick which variety they think will get the biggest and do that. So before we get into the main thing, a few new things. I always like to show people new varieties that we've got as far as seeds, and we've been adding a lot of seeds. Before I talk about the new varieties, I do want to mention we just got these back on the site. They had been away for a while. These rutabagas here. If you've never grown rutabagas in the fall, man, you got to do it. You can transplant them. You can direct seed them. I like to transplant them, but they store well in the fridge. They're really, really, really tasty. And if you don't like them, like I say about a lot of things, you probably hadn't cooked them right. But we like to make mashed bagers around.
We do them. Yeah, that's how we do them. We whip them like mashed potatoes.
Yeah, put some sour cream in
there. They're to me, they may be even better than mashed potatoes.
They got a little more flavor than a tater does.
They do.
And if you
they really, really do. And I tell you, I was shocked last year how easy they were to grow. I was because it's such a big root. I was thinking it was going to be kind of difficult to grow, but it wasn't hard at all to grow those rutabagas. They were really easy to grow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as long as you just you want to give them a little bit of a complete fertilizer, because that phosphorus and potassium is going to encourage that big rutabaga. But the greens are great to eat too. We ate a lot of the greens last year. I cooked several batches of greens during the holidays and didn't tell people what they were. And they were like, man, these are some of the best greens I ever had. Those rutabaga greens. Anyway, so we got those back on the site.
That's funny.
I've been telling you about how we were adding a ton of onions. Let me go through some of these new onions. This is an intermediate day onion. So we talked about onions on last week's show. If you live in that part of the country where you grow intermediate days, we got a new one here called Red Floyd, which is a nice red onion. And then I got 3 new short day varieties we just added. Another red one here called Red Maiden. So that's a short day. That was what me and Jason would grow down here in the South. The Texas Early White, which is one I grew last year, which is a popular one. Kind of an old school heirloom onion, a good one. And this next one here, which is similar to the Cougar, but a little lighter color on it, called the Duster. And this is a sweet onion that gets really big and just has a little lighter tinge to it than the Cougar. And if you can't decide which one of these onions you want to grow, well, first of all, you need to make sure you're growing the right one for your region: short day, intermediate day, long day. But most of the difference is in the shape, the color, and then you know, how dark the coloration is on it. So you want a red onion, you want a white onion, you want a sweet onion. And then as far as the sweet onion, some people like the flat ones, some people like the round ones. Just depends on what you like. What y'all are y'all a flat onion fan, a round onion fan?
Don't matter to us.
Onion's onion.
Onion, they good. They don't matter.
All good. They all good. And then this, which I'm excited about growing, I got to get me some of these started. This is a new variety of cabbage we just added called Caribbean Queen. I can't remember what was the name of that old boy that sang that song.
Billy Ocean.
Billy Ocean. Caribbean Queen. So this is what they call a tropical style cabbage. It's a flattened head on it. So instead of a round head, it makes these massive flattened heads. And as you can imagine, you can see there, it's a lot easier to cut up something that lays flat on the cutting board than it is one of the big old round cabbages. So I'm going to get some of these started and look forward to trying those. Caribbean Queen. Me and Billy Ocean going to make some sauerkraut. All right. So me and Jason when we decided to do this, was talking about what our topic should be tonight. And this is a lot of what we talk about all the time back and forth on the phone is how, you know, on different gardening YouTube channels, you know, we make gardening videos. Jason has a lot of gardening videos. There's lots of other channels with gardening videos out there, and everybody's kind of got their own technique, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, it's a good thing we're not all the same, but
right.
With respect to that, you have to understand that those techniques are fairly relative to that particular person's climate, disease pressure, where they are. You know, just because me and Jason live kind of in the same latitude, where he lives, he doesn't have necessarily a ton of commercial agriculture around him. You kind of live in the woods a little bit.
Yeah. Yep.
Here where I live, it's wide open, cotton and peanuts, thousands of acres around you. So, you know, even within the same latitude, things can be different, but definitely it can be different, you know, whether you live in the deep South, in the middle of the country, or wherever. And those are things you should take into consideration. There's lots of different techniques. I'll take Charles Dowding for an example. Got a great YouTube channel, lots of great gardening videos, beautiful gardening. But where he lives is a whole different world than where we live. And that's not to say that a lot of the things he does are not applicable to where we are, but you just have to consider that when we're looking at that and maybe adapting some of his techniques.
Yeah, I agree. And just other things like, I mean, you've talked about too, the Back to Eden garden. I know I've tried it and just really did not work for us at all. And I can tell you, and especially if you guys live here in central Alabama, the southeast, I basically grew fire ants in that Back to Eden garden. I mean, it was horrible. That's one that really stands out to me, that I get asked a lot or told a lot on my YouTube channel that's what I need to do. I've tried, I probably tried just about everything. And there's nothing wrong with trying different things. I'm not saying don't try these things, or Travis is not saying that. Give it a whirl. If it works, it works. It don't. But don't think that this is the only way that you can, you got to do something because, your favorite YouTuber or big YouTuber does it a certain way. That ain't the case, because each place is different. Each climate's different. Each soil is different. Each terrain's different. There's a lot of variables in there.
Right. Yeah. There's not a one size fits all solution by any means.
No. Mm-mm.
And we have a lot of
Not at
customers
all.
and viewers that I hear from that move from the middle of the country, or maybe even up north down somewhere in the deep South. And they're like, man, I don't even know how to garden down here. Like, I can grow food year round, but I'm not sure what I should be doing. And then the bugs are worse and all this stuff. So it is different. And every location, whether it be frost up north or shorter growing season, or down here disease and weed pressure and insect pressure, every place has its own set of challenges. So we wanted to talk about some of the techniques that we have found useful. And like you said, you've tried a lot of them over the years, kind of experimented with a little bit of everything. And
a lot of them.
A lot of your growing techniques now are kind of similar to what we do, but we do some stuff different. So we kind of want to go through some of these things that we kind of believe in, or that kind of work really well for us. The first one I'll mention here, and we kind of talked about this earlier, is growing your own transplants. We really believe in transplanting a vast majority of the things we plant in the garden, whether it be because of pest pressure or weed pressure. If you can grow your own transplant successfully, it's a great start to having a good garden.
Yeah, I agree. And another thing that I like about growing my own transplants is I don't have to thin. I can tell you, I'm the world's worst. If I plant a bunch of something, if it's healthy, I dang sure don't want to pull it up. It is so hard for me to pull that sucker up. And so if I do my own transplants, I don't have to worry about thinning.
Right. The other thing is you get to pick what varieties you want. If you go buy transplants, you got to get whatever they got.
Mm-hmm.
So being
that's
able
right.
to pick your own is definitely beneficial. So we both grow a vast majority of transplants. I think you transplant even cucumbers and squash a lot of times, right?
I will. Yep. I certainly will. I'll do it both ways depending on time. But yeah, I've done it both ways. Yeah.
So, it's a great way to, with some things, some crops, they just take so long to get started initially. And if you ain't careful, the weeds outpace them. But if you can throw a healthy transplant in the ground, you can win that battle a little better. So we got growing our own transplants. The other thing we kind of differ from some other people out there is this whole debate versus, and you talked about with the backdeed, mulching versus growing on bare soil, or having bare soil between your rows. And I mulch perennials around my homestead. I have blackberries that are mulched. I put wheat straw around my fig trees and stuff, but I don't mulch annuals, because we're growing food year round and we're always turning things over and over and over. And I've heard some people say that they think that not mulching is more time consuming. I would argue where we are, mulching is more time consuming.
It is.
Because you have to move it out of the way every time you replant. You also have to pull weeds by hand.
Yep.
So there's advantages and disadvantages of that. But for me, mulching doesn't necessarily work. It's not as an efficient means to do it. What do you say?
Yeah, I agree. It's way more time consuming trying to weed, in my opinion, because if you got the Hoss wheelie plow, you're going in between the rows, or if you got a cultivating tool or a hoe, the mulch just gets in the way. And if you're turning over, like you said, and I don't have a big tiller, I got a small tiller because my soil's fluffy. So trying to get in there and you got straw or pine straw or wood chips and trying to till that back in, it becomes a mess for me.
Bog it down in a heartbeat, even with that griller.
It does bog it down.
even with that Grillo I got, if there's a ton, a considerable amount of debris, it can make it tough. Because I have done some wheat straw mulching in the garden before and tried to till it in, and it takes a couple times to get it worked in the soil.
It will.
So it just depends on where you're at there. If you're just growing, maybe 1 or 2 cycles a year, and then you're just letting that baby sit, then the mulching is probably a great thing for you. But if you're growing, if you're replanting every couple months or so, I think it is a little bit of a hindrance.
I agree. I agree.
You talked about tilling. So let's talk about this here. And this is a whole subject that a lot of people like to get riled up about, is tilling versus no-till. And I kind of subscribe to the belief that till, but only when you have to. I usually try to only till between crops. If I'm cutting in a cover crop or cleaning up after existing crop, I really don't like to till between rows of existing plants. I don't want to disturb that structure, disturbing those feeder roots. So my belief is till only when you have to. But I think there are some advantages down here to tilling where we are. We get a lot of, it doesn't get cold enough to kill a lot of insect eggs and fungal spores, and we have nematode issues. And science has shown that tilling or disturbing the soil really disrupts those eggs that could be overwintering in the soil. Nematodes, tilling or, cultivating the soil to some deep extent helps with the nematode problems. So for us, there are some benefits to it.
Yeah, I agree. And with me, my biggest thing with tilling, and I've done no tilling, is time. And I stress time a lot. I work a regular full-time job. I'm a YouTuber. I do a podcast. We homeschool. I got the farm. So time is very important to me. And no till, going in there, breaking it up or whatever without the tiller took a lot of time versus me, I can till in between seasons, and have it ready in 30, 45 minutes.
Right. Yeah. And that time is valuable. Like when you work a full-time job, especially
it is
animals
valuable.
as you got to feed every afternoon, I'm sure.
That's right.
That can be tough. I completely understand all the benefits of the no-till systems where you're increasing your soil biology and all that. It makes perfect sense.
Yep.
I think just as with everything, it's not the answer is not all the way over here or all the way over here. I think for most folks, the answer is somewhere in the middle. Now, if you till it all the time,
I agree.
You're just going to lose your soil structure, and you got powder that doesn't retain nutrients well. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Yep.
The next thing on my list here, and this is another big one that's highly debated out there, is conventional versus organic fertilizers. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there with organic fertilizers. My kind of take on the thing is use organic fertilizers when you can, as much as you can, and use the conventional fertilizers on only those crops that really have to have that heavy feeding or that quick pop.
Yeah, I can see that. I and too with organic fertilizers, it's not like they got a committee that kind of over that, but it's not government. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's not regulated by the FDA or anything like that. So, I always feel that a lot of these companies could be doing a lot of shady stuff with these organic fertilizers because there's nobody watching over them, to be honest. I mean, I know there's a group, I forget what it's called, but it's not, it's not federal or the government or anything like that. So I don't know if they just take your word for it. I don't know if there's any testing done. But organic fertilizer is totally different than food.
Yeah, and some of the stuff that's on the organic list and some of the stuff that's not is a little bit puzzling to me. Why they it seems like they kind of cherry pick some stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I think they cater to those big ag organic farms too.
Right. There may be a little political business going on there for all we know.
Yeah,
Sure. I think as far as just the general homestead or backyard gardener goes, one of the misconceptions with organic fertilizer, people don't understand. Okay, if you want to be all organic, that's great, but you have to plan so much further ahead because that stuff takes a long time to break down. Even with our pelleted hen manure, that is a great organic fertilizer. You need to put that in when you plant or a little bit before, and you're really not going to see a whole lot from it until a few weeks after when those plants get going. So you have to plan ahead. People talk about, and you use bone meal and some blood meal, some of those things. It's a long-term process for those. It's not a quick fix.
Right. Yeah, they take a long time to break down. A long time. And I really don't think people know that at all. Right.
No, I see it on YouTube all the time. People all the time. Well, these plants look weak. They need some fertilizer. I'm going to give them some bone meal or some other organic fertilizer.
Yep.
Again, it's not going to do anything right then. If you're to the point where your plants and up are growing and they're struggling, unfortunately, the only really thing that's going to save them is something like some 20-20-22 water soluble, something that acts really fast.
That's right.
And I think a lot of people.
And I will say this. Go ahead.
I think a lot of people don't understand that now obviously you don't want to add too much conventional fertilizer because you increase the salt content in your soil. So we want to just do it when we need to. But people don't understand that when that organic fertilizer is broken down to a state where it can be absorbed by the plant, it's the same molecule that's in that conventional fertilizer.
That is true. That is true. I will say this about bone meal. You got to be careful with bone meal if you don't have a fence around your garden, because your puppy Sparky or whoever will dig it up. And I can tell you that by experience.
Oh, yeah? They like that stuff? Doggies?
They will. I planted it in some daffodil bed one time when I planted my daffodil bulbs. Next morning, the neighbor's dog had dug every single daffodil up, every one.
Now, you've got...
He was going after the bone meal.
On a side note, you've got your garden pretty animal-proof. You got fence around it, and then you got these flags to keep the birds out.
Yep, I got the regular 4-foot conventional fencing. Then I was having problems with my chickens coming over. And one year I had a problem with deer, and I've never had issue with deer. And I had the idea to put it's like prayer flags, like you'd see at a Buddhist, monk, monastery or something. And I wrapped it around there, and it's dead stopped the deer and the chickens. So I guess it kind of gives it the illusion that my fence is 7 foot tall or 8 foot tall, and it's got the motion. So yeah, that does work, or at least it worked for me.
Now, was that something you saw somewhere else, or you just was like, I'm throwing darts?
I threw a dart. That was all. I don't know how I came up with the idea, but that was all me on that one.
Hey, whatever works.
That's right.
It adds some nice color to your garden as well.
Yeah, I think it looks cute. It's a little whimsical to it.
Yeah. One more thing on the fertilizers that I think is important to know is that soil type has a lot to do with how much you're going to have to fertilize. People don't understand. Clay soils retain nutrients so much better than sandy soils. Our fluffy sandy soils, they're great to work in because they're nice and soft, and you can run up and down them and with the wheel hoe pretty easy. But the downside of that is they don't hold on to a lot of nutrients.
Nope, not at all. And I think that's another thing people don't realize either, that clay soil is a lot more nutritious than your fluffy, sandy loam soils. But you're right, it don't drain worth a toot, and it's hard to work.
Yeah. But hey, it's like you said, it's very nutrient good at holding the nutrients there. You won't have to spend as much on time as on fertilization and replacing those nutrients. In conjunction with fertilizer,
Yep.
and I kind of want to get a lot of people hear us, talk about on all my videos, talk about drip irrigation and injecting through the drip irrigation and the benefits of that. And a lot of people are scared of it. They think it's complicated, it's hard to set up or whatever. So I figured I'd just give you a minute, just kind of explain your experiences, because you recently, in the last couple of years, went from to a drip irrigation system and started injecting fertilizer. And just from someone who wasn't using irrigation to now, you explain kind of that transition and what you thought about it, as far as, was it easy to do, hard to figure out, so forth.
Yeah, it was a game changer, because I was doing overhead sprinkling system, and too, my garden's on a bad slant. I don't know if you can tell it in my videos or not, but I'm on a hill. So, it was a lot of runoff. And so the upper part, I'd have to water a whole lot, trying to get the ground saturated. And then, of course, it would run down and really saturate the bottom end of my garden. It really, really was a game changer. It's extremely easy. It really, really is. I mean, it is, it's very easy. Easy to install, easy to work. I mean, everything, even the injector system, all of it was very easy. And I even put the valves in it because, I didn't want some stuff to get fertilizer and some stuff to get fertilizer. And I ran several stuff through there. I ran the 20-20-20 through there. I would put, I think I had some leftover organic liquid fertilizer. I ran fish emulsion through mine, liquid guano through mine. It was really easy. And I can tell you, coming up, when carrots are fixing to come up, planting carrots, it comes in handy there, because, the carrots love that super wet soil at first. And that drip irrigation really, really helps on that. Plus, it can serve so much water. It's no telling how much water I was wasting with that overhead sprinkling system.
Yeah, with carrots, because they can be slow to come up, the drip irrigation, I found it very beneficial, because if you're overhead watering, trying to keep that seedbed moist, with carrots, you got to keep that seedbed moist for about 7 days to get them to come up good, especially in the fall. It's a little cooler. If you're doing that with overhead water, boy, you're going to have some weed problems in a heartbeat, or at least I will down here.
Yes.
But if you got that,
and I bet you that's the biggest complaint that you have about carrot seeds is they don't germinate, or they took forever, or they didn't grow very well. And I know that's why people don't keep them wet enough.
Yeah, you got to keep them. It's unlike many crops out there where you can water it a time or two, and then next thing you know, it's up. You got to keep that seed bed moist, and the drip lets you do that without creating a ton of weed issues all around the area. There. What the other thing people ask a lot of questions about, and we try to show it on some of our videos, people wonder, especially when you bury the tape, how hard it is to pull up. And I've showed a lot of videos where with almost every crop out there, you just yank it right up. But I guess it's hard for people to understand. You pull it up, the crop comes up with it.
Yeah, it's easy to come up. It's not hard at all. I mean, even like on my tomatoes this year, they had a huge root system, but it wasn't nothing to it. It's just really, really easy. Really easy.
Now, do you disconnect yours and roll it up, or throw it you just pull it on the other side of the main line and cultivate before you're going to plant something else? What's your strategy there?
You talking about like trying to save the tape?
Or just when you're going from one crop to the next?
Is that what you're talking about?
When you're going from one crop to the next, you're pulling up the tape, you leave it connected, pull it on the other side. How do you do it?
Yeah, I disconnected it and pulled it up. That's what I did. Okay. I left my main drip line down there. Is what I did.
I got you. And then you can, well, the cool thing is you can take those plugs and you can move your rows anywhere along that main line that you want to, if you're going from squash to something that's a little more closely spaced there. The last thing I talk about here, and I think this is probably the most underutilized part of gardening in the YouTube/homesteading garden community, and that is cover crops. And I know you had some cover crops planted this year, or you got some you just mowed down.
Yep.
But there's not a, considering how many gardening how-to channels out there, there's not a lot of them that do a lot of cover cropping. And I think, I'm not sure if it's because people don't understand cover cropping or understand the benefits of it, or how it works, but there's so many benefits to it, and it can keep your garden from being overgrown, so many things. And I feel like we have tried to encourage more people to start cover cropping, and hopefully we'll see more people doing it, even on a small scale in a raised bed. I think it's beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. And with me, like I said, with my garden being on that hill, erosion control is it plays a critical part for me in erosion control. Plus, nature does not like bare ground, so if you're transition seasons, she's gonna put something on that ground, weeds or whatever, something's gonna grow on it, and it might as well be a cover crop, which is gonna, could be a nitrogen fixer or green manure or break your pest cycle. There's a lot of things that those cover crops to do, and honestly, you don't have to do anything when you plant a cover crop. Basically you just throw it out there and it does all the work for you.
Yeah, I had a guy the other day, I can't remember how big he said his garden was. I think it was something about 30 by 40, probably a little smaller than your garden.
Right.
And he was like, man, I want to practice crop rotation and cover cropping. He said, I'm growing food. I live in the South. I'm just growing food in this thing year round. I always got something planted. I don't know how I can work cover crops into what I'm doing. And I told him, I said, man, you might just want to consider giving yourself a little break and giving your garden a little break. It doesn't take like 2 months. Just take 2 months off here and there. Give yourself a break, give your garden a break. So if you keep farming it that hard, you're going to see diminishing returns at some point.
Absolutely. Or diminishing in his body too.
I mean, we all need a little break. I enjoy the little break we get, and when it's real hot here in August and September, even though it's cooling off now, we kind of need it, and our soils need it, need replenishing. So it's always good to kind of give back to them a little bit.
That's right.
We were talking the other day about and you mentioned it just then, about the whole idea of breaking the cover crop, breaking a pest cycle. And this is something that some people struggle to understand, how this works or the benefits of it. And I'll let you kind of explain it, because I think you said it in a good way. Basically, you're not giving the bugs anything to eat anymore.
That's right. I mean, if you're growing tomatoes and you got tomato pest in there, and you pull that out and put Sudan grass in there, it's really gonna, mess them up, and they can't thrive like they could if you had maters planted in there, or weeds pop up. So it's just gonna mess them up. I got a buddy that's trying to help me.
Got a visitor.
Got a visitor that just showed up. So yeah, that's the thing about the breaking the pest cycle is you're just changing that environment up that just gives those bugs, something else that they're not accustomed to, and hopefully it'll stop them, or break that pest cycle. They don't have nothing to eat. They're gonna go away or die or not lay eggs or whatever, and it works. I'm telling you, that works.
That's right. So if you're just constantly got vegetables out there that they're feasting on, they're just constantly reproducing and reproducing over and over.
Yep.
If you plant something out there that they won't care to eat, like sorghum, Sudan grass, or sun hemp, or whatever cover crop it may be, you're going to halt that reproduction, and you'll see those benefits, 2 or 3 fold down the road. even going into next year's garden.
And weeds. I can't stress that enough, that between cover crops and tarpon, I have I don't want to say a stale weed bed because I know I got weeds, but my weed pressure is so low compared to what it was 5, 6 years ago. And it's just cover cropping and then tarping those cover crops and then planting.
Yeah, that tarp, man, our buddy Tom Matthews, he says that'll make you a lazy gardener because it's just so easy. You just
It will. He ain't lying.
once you mow that cover crop,
He ain't lying.
throw that tarp on there and just let it ride till you get ready, and you pull it
That's
off.
it. Hey, even if I've even tilled, I've done the cover crop, tilled it, then tarped it, and it be 3-4 weeks, a month, whatever, pull it back, and that soil's still fluffy.
Mm-hmm. And it's ready to go.
Ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope everybody kind of enjoyed us, bouncing through there, kind of our growing techniques. And I'm sure we didn't cover everything, but just kind of what works for us and why it works for us. I think the why is important. You just tell somebody you should be growing cover crops, you should be doing this and that, but the why is important, and hopefully that helps everybody understand kind of relatively why it works so well for us where we are. Not to say it wouldn't work well in other parts of the country, but explaining the background of why it works well for us, I think is important. We got a few questions from last week's show here, and so Jason's going to participate in our Q&A segment here. And if we do answer your question on the show, send us an email to cussserve@hosstools.com, and we'll send you a nice little prize. So first one here for you, Jason, is from Chris Dono. And he says, what is the difference between determinate and indeterminate when you talk about growing things? I think it's a huge question for beginner gardeners.
It is. Determinate, I guess people think of tomatoes more than anything, but determinate is everything that is going to get ripe at the same time. It's going to mature height at the same time. Your fruit's going to set basically at the same time, and you can pick it all basically all at once. And there's, you could probably pick it a few days after, but it's really just going to mature and ripen all at the same time, whereas the indeterminate is just going to keep growing. It's kind of like a vine. I think of determinate like a bush tomato, and indeterminate just a vine tomato, and it's going to keep growing all season long. And it could be 5, 6, 7, 8 foot. And I tell you, I got a little trick where I always remember, because sometimes that gets confusing if, you can't remember which one's which. I always say, the determinant is you're going to be determined that height of that tomato is going to be determined, that to be this high. And that's a little trick I always tell myself to not get them confused a lot of times. Oh, you locked up on me.
There we go. That's technology.
There we go. Yes. I don't have the greatest internet in the world.
Yeah. So you grow a little bit of both determinate and indeterminate tomatoes, right?
Yeah, I do. I grow a little bit of both, but mainly the indeterminates, usually cherries is what I grow. But you got a cherry this year that's determinate, right?
So, it's a grape tomato, but yeah, pretty much a cherry. Yeah, we haven't got it yet, but supposed to be adding it, and it is absolutely fabulous. I can't wait for everybody to try it. Best tasting cherry tomato I've ever had. It's supposed to be really good. All right.
Now, a question for you is from Swamp Billy, and he wants to know, why did you stop carrying the tiger collards?
So we didn't necessarily stop the tiger collards. So what happens in the hybrid vegetable world is those producers, they sometimes find a new variety, or what can happen is over time, with a variety like Tiger, for instance, or some of these other hybrid varieties, as they continue to produce these varieties, these hybrid varieties, they'll lose some of the genetics over time. So some of the hybrid characteristics that they like about it, some of the disease resistance, some of the production, some of that will be lost in the genetic shuffle over time just by, crossing the two varieties of collards, or how many ever varieties of collards are crossing to come up with this hybrid. So when they came out with Top Bunch 2.0, as far as I understood it, that was a superior varieties to some of the previous hybrids like Tiger, Bulldog, there's a few others. And that the breeder of those varieties decided to put all their resources in the Top Bunch 2.0 and discontinue those others. So they didn't have so many ones out there. So it's just a decision by the breeder. And, we like Tiger, but I've been growing the Top Bunch 2.0 for a couple seasons now, and it's an awesome variety, better than the Tiger, in my opinion.
Oh, wow.
You liked the Tiger, didn't you? It was a good one.
I'm excited about that one, Ian. It's a good one.
All right, number 3 is from Yoda. And Yoda says, one thing I have no luck with is lettuce. It always bolts and goes to seed even when in a shady spot. You got any advice from growing lettuce there?
I'm guessing he's either one or two things, in my opinion. Either he is growing the wrong variety of lettuce for his climate or his zone, or he's planting lettuce the wrong time of the year. That's the two things that I'm guessing that he may be doing wrong on there. And that's causing his lettuce to bolt. Been there and done that. I've definitely done it. I bought that Salvanova lettuce it was supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it all bolted. It ain't made for Alabama.
Right. Yeah. You got to wait till it cools off. At least down here, kind of the trigger for me is waiting to the nights. Waiting to the days where I'm not above 80, and the nights, I'm in the mid 60s or so. It's kind of lettuce planting time. They don't care much for that heat during the day at all.
No.
No matter how much water you give them. Okay.
Number 4 is Mary Ann Abercrombie, and she says, "Hey guys, do you ring your onions? If so, what tool do you use?"
So I'll be honest, I had several people on last week's video asking, do we ring our onions? And I had never heard this term, ringing them. So I thought they meant, do you make onion rings with them? And I even replied to somebody, and I was like, yeah, you turn them on the side and you cut them like this and you make onion rings. you get the grease hot, and then there you go. But as I figured out, when they say ringing their onions, and I've seen Danny at Deep South Homestead do this, basically what they do is when that onion starts bulbing, they take their finger or some little tool and they go and kind of push the soil away from the base of that onion bulb there. And supposedly that provides less resistance from the soil and gives you a bigger eventual bulb.
That makes sense.
We don't do that intentionally. It kind of happens as we're, and I meant to bring one, but we got a little tool called a single tine cultivator. It's just a little hook like that. Jason, I think, has got one. And we got a long handle, a short handle. And that's what I use to weed around my onions. And as I'm weeding around them, as they grow, it kind of is just pushing a little soil away from that base. So we don't do it intentionally, but it kind of happens. Another thing is I think people sometimes plant their onions too deep. We just barely put that white part in the ground. If you don't plant them too deep, once they start bulbing, they'll kind of come up out of that little bit of a soil shell, and you don't really have to ring them a whole lot. I do love some onion rings.
Oh man!
All right, number 5. This is a long one. I'll try to kind of summarize it here. It's from Love and Life, and so they have a smaller garden, and in their garden they might have different crops or maybe within the same crop family, but different things in the same row. And so everything's not kind of broken up into subplots like I do it. And I figured you could provide some good advice here. So how do they use the drip system and the fertilizer when they got different crops in the same row there? How do you try to make sure everything gets what it needs?
Yeah, I also the valve system, you can do the valves, which I did this year, and that saved me a lot because, I had different things, and I do got a smaller garden, so the valves did save me cutting some on, cutting some off, that kind of thing. And also, group them in families like the onions. You could plant onions, garlic, shallots, leeks, chives. You could plant all those in the same row, and they could take the same amount of fertilizer. All your leafy vegetables all could go in the same row. Your nightshade families, I guess you could plant peppers and tomatoes and eggplants kind of in the same row, and they would take the same type of fertilizer and care. Root vegetables like rutabagas and beets and carrots, they all probably share similar traits and would take about the same type of fertilizer. And then you could just look up companion plantings and go down that rabbit hole because it's a deep one, and see what all goes together, because it is a ton of plants out there that you can plant together.
So you recommend almost like a micro rotation. So you're not.
That's what I do.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
For a smaller gardens, keeping things in the same family in the same.
Yeah.
Way. Okay.
All right, Travis, number 6 is from Jessica Sanders, and she wants to know why sometimes you say okra and sometimes you say okra.
So you can't see it here. I got my okra shirt on, and be honest with you. Now, let me preface this because I don't want to make anybody upset. I love all of our customers and viewers all over the country, whether they live in the south, middle of the country, or up north. But when I say okra is kind of my Yankee radar. So you can if I start saying okra, it never fails. Somebody from up north is going to comment and ask why you're saying okra, and you don't even have to look at the profile or know where they're from. You can tell they've never been down here. So if you've been down here in the south, especially where I live, you'll hear okra more frequently than you hear okra. I don't know about over there in Alabama, but we hear it a lot.
It's mostly okra. It's mostly okra here, but y'all got that pecan and pecan thing over there too. There's like a invisible line in it where
we
part
say
of Georgia
pecan.
says pecan.
We say pecan. What do y'all say?
We're pecan people.
Yeah. Okra.
But that's only in Georgia. That's only in Georgia. I found that out recently. I went to a pig harvesting class, and there were some folks from Georgia there, and they were telling us about the imaginary line. I don't know where it is in Georgia y'all got, but it's half of it's pecan, the other half's pecan.
We do have a gnat line. It's up around Macon or so. That's where you don't really have any more gnat. We have a gnat line. I wasn't aware of the pecan line, but yeah. So okra is that's just the way a lot of people, old timers, say it around here. I had someone tell me one time that was the indigenous pronunciation, the original pronunciation. I'm not sure if there's anything to that, but I like saying okra. I like the way it sounds, and makes me think about the good old days. So if y'all like saying okra, you can head on over the site and get you an okra shirt.
There you go.
That way you can the Yankees can call you out when you walk past. All right. So I hope everybody kind of enjoyed this format. We kind of threw this together a little bit since Greg was going out of town. But if you did like this format, let us know in the comments below. And if there are other YouTubers out there that you would like to see us kind of, do the row by row show with, definitely let us know. And we'll try to get in contact with them and do that. Greg should be back next week. And got a lot of good. Have you got any of these bags yet, Jason?
I ain't got those bags yet, but those bags are awesome.
These are fancy. My wife was commenting.
They're very fancy.
Seen them. Anyway, we got some new cool season cover crops. We got this chickpea here we just put on the site. Chickpea, aka garbanzo bean. That's what you make hummus with. It's also a good cover crop. That and something like this African forage cabbage. If you folks out there that got chickens or stuff and you want to grow a cover crop, turn the chickens in on. Anyway, lots more where that come from, and we'll be talking about cool season cover crops on next week's show when Greg is back. I hope everybody enjoyed the show tonight. If you did, make sure you give us a big thumbs up. Head on over to Jason's channel, give him a subscribe. Hit his bell button as well so you get notified when he comes out with a new video. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you for joining us, Jason.
See y'all later. You're welcome, buddy. Thank you.
Bye-bye.